The following program is the third Tuesday of the month Waupaca City Council meeting.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this regular scheduled council meeting to order at 6:01. The mayor is attending remotely, but he feels it's appropriate to have the meeting chaired by somebody in person. That person is me. I'm Paul Mayo, council president. I'd like to inform everybody I will be voting on agenda items. We'll start the meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barb, would you read the open meeting statement, please?
Yep. This meeting and all meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
Thank you. Please take a roll call.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Colin Dykstra?
Here.
Paul Hagan?
Here.
Henry Veliker?
Here.
Scott Berchatsky?
Here.
Dave Peterson?
Here.
Paul Mayo?
Here.
Dimitri Martin?
Here.
Eric Olson?
Here.
8 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Barb. Would you like to start the staff introductions out, please?
Barb Nowak, City Clerk.
Aaron Jensen, City Administrator.
Matt Klatt, Airport Manager.
Eric Bailey, Library Director.
Jared Reichu, Community and Economic Development.
Stephanie Reif, Finance Director.
Justin Behrens, Director of Public Works.
Laura Colbert, Parks and Rec Director.
Brian Hosell, Chief of Police.
And I believe we have Josh Werner in the TV room. Next up, we have the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a collection of items that we decide with one vote. If there's anything on the consent agenda that council or staff would like removed and put it in on the regular agenda for consideration, now is the time to make that request. If not, I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Olson, second by Veliker to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, we have don't know. The regular agenda. We have no additions to the regular agenda, and I would need a motion to approve it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Peterson, that we approve the regular agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no announcements and correspondence, and we'll move on to public input. If anybody has any public input on non-agenda items, or any council or anybody in the audience has a public input item, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anybody? Okay, we'll move on to community and department head reports. I'd ask the department heads if you have anything in your department that you'd like to promote, please do that. Other than that, we'll abbreviate the department reports for tonight. So I think we're going to start out with Kathy Johnson from the Phantom Art Gallery of Waupaca. Kathy, are you here? Yes, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Johnson, and I'm a member of the Phantom Art Gallery Group. We are a nonprofit organization, a very small part of the Waupaca Arts and Culture Network.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
Oh.
Thank you.
We are a very small part of the Waupaca Arts and Culture Network and the Waupaca Community Arts Board. We're about 6 people, so we are a very, very small group. We just wanted to introduce ourselves to y'all in case you didn't know who we are. I'm going to pass these around real quick so you remember us. We started about 14 years ago. It was still a very small group of women got together, and we wanted to promote the local artists in the area. And one of the reasons we came up with the name Phantom Art Gallery is because we started out by displaying local artwork in vacant storefronts downtown. And over the years, there was less and less, thanks to the work of the city and the community, and groups like the Waupaca Community Arts. There's less and less vacant storefronts, which is a good thing. We started having an annual art show and sale, and we moved it to different venues all the time. We've been in multiple places. Last 3 years, we've been at Loot, Vintage and Supply on Jefferson Street. Sometimes it's a vacant space, sometimes it's a business, like it is this year. So the Phantom Art Gallery was a good name for us because we pop up. We never know where we're going to be the next year. And we thought it was a good proposition for the artists because it gave them exposure. It was good for the vacant space because it wasn't an eyesore when people drove through downtown. It gave the owner some publicity, and now gives the space owner or the business occupant some foot traffic and some exposure. We've completed, 14 years. We've had our best year last year, and every year it gets a little better. Last year we had our best year. We sold 34 pieces of art in, not even 2 days. So we're open Friday night, this Friday night. We always have it during Arts in the Square. So we're open Friday night from 4 to 8 and from Saturday from 10 to 4. So last year we sold 34 pieces of art, all different mediums, oils, watercolor, sculpture, wood carving, you name it. This year we have several new artists and some absolutely amazing works to share with people this year. And we do have, I think we're a benefit to the community in that that's an amazing amount of art to sell. I mean, some of the pieces are priced in 3 and 4 figures, and so I think it's pretty amazing to sell that amount of art in 3 days, and 2 days, and really less than 8 hours almost. So we're very happy, and we hope to do as well this year. And I think the artists are as excited, and we're getting more people from a larger area, some from Amherst, some from Iola, some from nearby areas. So we hope to continue that work into the future. And I don't know, I think Loot is experiencing a very good popularity, and they're expanding. I know they helped with the demolition of St. Mary's, and they did an excellent job. Whoever did that demo is to be commended because I've never seen anything like it. And I was in commercial real estate for many years, and there was no noise, there was no dust. I mean, I really think that they're to be commended because they did an amazing job. So I think their business is really picking up, and I do not think they're going to have room for us next year. So if you hear of anybody that might be willing to take us in next year for our exhibit, please let us know. So 14 years ago we started, so it's probably going to be time. Some of the original members are still there. Some of them, I've only been there about 6 or 7 years, I think. It's probably going to be about time to be passing on to a new group of women to take over, or men. We have one gentleman that was with us for many years, but he's become so busy an artist himself that he's not too involved anymore. But we'll probably be passing it on in the near future, and we hope it keeps on. We are going to be offering some scholarships to the middle school and high school this year. I have a call into both head art departments to see how they would like those scholarships, if they want them for supplies or for student going on to college or for student classes or whatever. So I think we do benefit the community, and I know the city and the Community Arts Board and the Arts and Culture Network have been very good to us. The Waupaca Community Arts Board has been especially kind and gracious in that they include our little group in all their news broadcasts and all their marketing efforts because we don't have that kind of budget. And in years past, they've always been wonderful in giving us one of their wine licenses, and this year they did not have that to give. And so if I can think of anything that the city could help us with in the future, is we did try to navigate the liquor license mud this year, and we could not figure a way to get ourselves one for Friday from 4 to 8. So we'll be having mocktails this year. So if we missed a way to get ourselves a liquor license for, we always are during the Arts on the Square. We're always that Friday night from 4 to 6 or 4 to 8, and we usually just serve wine and water and hors d'oeuvres. So if there is a way that we didn't see to get that, we could use some help getting through, navigating those waters. Thank you again for letting us come and introduce ourselves. I think and supporting we thank you for supporting the arts in the community. I think the Arts on the Square is a great week, and I think things you've done in the last few years to spruce up the downtown have been very successful. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Any in the future, sorry to hear that. Myself or Barb can certainly help you walk through any alcohol licensing and following DOR rules and our ordinances. So reach out to us at any time.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay, we have no unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. Item A is construction and maintenance agreement and sign installation on Waupaca and Waupaca. Oh, I'm sorry. With department reports, abbreviated. Yeah.
Matt's here. I think we should hear from Matt. We don't need abbreviated. You're lucky. It's an abbreviated.
Everything's good. I didn't prepare a report. We did have dream flights today, and both Channel 2, Channel 5, and Channel 11 were all out there covering the event. They said it went great. I think 8 veterans got a ride in a World War II biplane over the city, over the chain, and they hold it each year, and they said they will be back again next year, but everything went well today.
Awesome.
Thank you. Eric.
Thank you. I have 3 quick items that I'm going to highlight for promotion. I'm also going to toss in real quick as a plug for the airport that I was down in northern Illinois for an event in the last week and ran into a gentleman that was part of the that flying culture, and he said, "Oh yeah, Waupaca Airport." When I mentioned where I was from, been hearing a lot of great things about that as a fantastic place to stop. So the word is getting out. The 3 for the library. First, I handed out the flyer for 30 Years on the Square. That is an event for City Hall and the library, scheduled for August 30th from 3 to 6 p.m., celebrating officially 30 years for the building here being on the square. We've got the banners up around the square. Those we designed with the help of Jared here, as well as a lot of hard work from Chad Glaman at Owls. Very nice. We're going to have cake for the event itself on the 30th, so please turn out. The cake is going to be donated from 3 Angels Bakery, and they do very good work. Next one to highlight, we've got a new exhibit in place. It's at Home and Flyover Country. That is the photography of Wisconsin photographer, author, and editor Drake Hawkinson. He's the author of 2 books and the co-author of a 3rd and co-editor of a 4th. So he's someone who's become very well known. That is up as of August the 12th. So if you have not had a chance to check that out. Please stop by and do so. Finally, last item I have here is the activity cart. I had included a photocopy of the guest log for the first week in action out in front of the building. It's the big blue cart out on the west side of the building if you haven't seen it yet. This was purchased as part of the T-Mobile grant donation. So the feedback thus far has been really, really positive. Have a lot of people that we've seen making use of the games and things that are included there. So if you've not had a chance to stop by and take a look at that, I encourage you to do so. And those are the 3 items I have. I will turn it over to Jared.
Thanks, Eric. Jared?
Thank you very much. Still working on wayfinding signage and vehicle relogoing. That is in process. Working on a series of code revisions that will be coming to Plan Commission for discussion at September's Plan Commission meeting. Still working with a variety of developers on the different projects you guys are fully aware of, as well as a few that have come up brand new that we're starting discussions with and starting to work through. So that's it. I guess the big one would be Danes Hall. We hope to be starting their Danes Hall Plaza. We hope to be starting next week. So
very good. Thank you. Stephanie?
Real quick, I'd like to recognize Kate Wieters, who is our deputy treasurer that has been with the city for a year, and she's doing an awesome job. And then my last thing is I handed out the Employee Appreciation Luncheon flyer that we encourage all employees and city council members to join if they can.
Thanks, Stephanie. Justin?
Thank you. Well, the big thing is our public works facility. We're still on schedule. The building is progressing quickly. The exterior is going up, so if you go out there and take a look, you'll see a splash of our branding blue. And speaking of branding, we put up banners all throughout the city, so not just downtown, but also on Fulton Street in Churchill recently that match our branding guidelines. We do have winter ones, so those will be swapped out come November.
Thanks, Justin. Laura?
Thank you. All right. So today alone, we have log rolling happening right now until 7:30 at the beach. So if anybody's listening and they want to head down, check that out. We have a movie starting around 8 tonight. It's Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. We also tonight and going on tomorrow and Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. have our Waupaca Area All-Star wheelchair basketball happening in the Augie Austin Gym at the Rec Center. If you are not in a wheelchair, that's okay. Come on down. We have wheelchairs for you and try out wheelchair basketball. So I stopped in there for just a brief moment today, and they were having a ton of fun. We had some good volunteers there helping out. This weekend, Friday night, kids triathlon, in case you didn't know. Saturday, we have Soccer Saturday and the adult triathlon. And then the 21st, which seems like it's miles away, is only 6 short days. That is when all of our registration closes for our adult leagues that are co-ed volleyball, and pickleball. And this year, our pickleball is going to be both competitive and rec, so you can sign up for whichever level you prefer. And our flag football and youth volleyball are also closing on the 21st. So if you are parents or know of parents, please motivate them to register before Monday. And our last day of lifeguards at the beach is already Saturday, August 26th. The docks will stay out until after Labor Day, but it will be swim at your own risk after the 26th. And last but not least, I'm going to put this one out there because I won't be able to see lots of you before then, but September 11th, we're collaborating. The Parks and Rec is collaborating with Winchester and the Historical Society. We're going to have David Drake come out to the Hutchinson House / Upper South Park, and he's going to put on a presentation. It's called Blowing in the Wind, Classic Folk Songs from the 50s and 60s. And we're going to have pulled pork starting at 5, and the event is at 6 p.m. I'll be here all night if you have questions.
Thanks, Laura. Chief?
We've been very busy, unfortunately, but obviously everybody knows there's an incident that happened last Friday. We're finishing up on that, and we should have everything done and prepared with that incident, hopefully by this Friday. So that would be it for us.
Thanks, Chief. Josh?
Okay, I'll go quick. Have done a lot of IT upgrades at the airport, starting prep work on the Public Works building as far as IT infrastructure goes. And then 2 things to expect in the near future. We'll be bringing forward capital project related to the Public Works building for a data connection, probably at the next meeting or the following one. And then we will be upgrading our bandwidth with Spectrum. We'll be doubling it for a proposed whopping $24 a month, so you'll see that pretty soon as well.
Thanks, Josh. Barb?
I do not have anything to promote.
Okay.
Sorry.
Aaron?
Yeah, so council members, my report can be found on page 42 of your packet, actually 41 it starts. Just going to touch on a couple things. One, I know it happens every month, but we did have another leadership series, and I'm just really happy with how that's going, happy with the attendance from our department heads and the engagement, not department heads only, department heads, supervisors, and aspiring leaders in our organization. Lucky enough to have Heidi Cuff come, Vice President of Nursing for Theta Care. We've been super fortunate to have the help of so many great community leaders within the community. So just want to thank everyone who's been involved in that, participants and our facilitators. And then the only other thing that's kind of out of the ordinary that I wanted to touch on is our visit to Cedarburg. Myself and Jared and Mayor Smith all took a trip to Cedarburg for an afternoon just to tour the community, see what they had going on from a public and private project standpoint. Cedarburg is different than Waupaca, but it's always great to see how Cedarburg is viewed as doing it very, very well in the state of Wisconsin for a lot of reasons. And it's great to just get different perspectives. Some stuff we can take back and say, hey, that's something we can do in Waupaca. Some stuff we can't for a variety of reasons, but it's always good to see that it can be done a little differently. So that was well worth our few hours that afternoon. Otherwise, everything else can be seen in my report.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Now we'll move on.
Henry has a question.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah, Paul, thank you. Just a comment. I think Cedarburg was a benchmark community when the wayfinding or a branding effort was underway.
Oh.
So it was a good
Interesting.
that you followed up, 3-4 years hence. I'm pretty sure the team went down there.
It's interesting because we noticed the wayfinding type signage. Jared picked up on it right away and asked about it. And he did say that there was an effort done right around that time period. I didn't know that they were a benchmark community for that, but we noticed the signage. So,
Anybody else? Okay. Now we'll move on to new business. Item A is construction and maintenance agreement and sign installation on Masaka and Waupaca Wego trails. Justin, I butchered that, I'm sure.
I don't think I would have been able to say it better. But luckily, we have a bunch of individuals here with that group that can get up and talk if you guys so choose. I will go over the agreement, and I think I'll just open it up to them into questions. But this generally is an agreement with the Greater Waupaca Area Parks and Trails Group. They're a nonprofit, and they would like to develop and maintain some trails in the Waupaca area. It's important to note that this is not just the city of Waupaca. They go into the surrounding townships, and they have been working with the county in their Greenways Committee. So on our end, when they are in the city, we want to have an agreement in place and to, I guess, define who is doing what. And thank you, Aaron. Just leave it there. That's the main route through the city. You can see over starting in Brainerd near Swan Park and kind of going to the east out past the bowling alley on County E there. So as far as the agreements go, this was reviewed and a little back and forth by both of our attorneys. So we are approving this group to install signs, which they will sign where the red dots are showing to keep people on this trail. The signs have been reviewed and approved, like I said, by the county and their Greenways Committee. So they do follow everything we would have for a sign standard as far as reflectivity. They're green, they're not red or any kind of crazy color. They are breakaway, and basically they will install them and they will maintain them. If there is an issue with them, we have to give them notification in order to make a correction. If they refuse or something happens, if we have to step in, then we can get recuperated for like our time or any materials with maintaining their trail. It's important to note that there's a state statute that this trail would fall under. Basically, it would hold the city harmless. So if there was somebody, worst case scenario, there was an accident, it's not like the city can be sued for allowing this to occur within our limits. It is a public right-of-way, and, well, like I said, there's a state statute with wording on how that works. So that is the agreement in a nutshell. It is included in the packet on page 75 and 76 with the exhibits behind it. As you go through, Aaron, could you start up at the top and I'll just kind of review those quickly again. So Exhibit A is the one pronunciation that they'll have to help us with again. So that's circling through in the north end of town. If you scroll down, please. This is out on Eastgate where we already have an existing bike trail, but they are making a connection in a loop out to City of Waupaca. Scroll down. This is on, Exhibit D is on the north end. So this is Townsend Road going up County E and then out of the city, looking to get additional signage and crosswalk striping up there with the assistance of the county. And then the last one is the very southern tip of the bypass, where the trail stops. We are looking to, or the group is looking to extend that further east and then go down the frontage road to the east along Highway 10 and then looping around to Waupaca. So if the council doesn't mind, I would like to open it up to the group. Scott, if you'd like to say a few things.
My name is Scott Rush. I'm the chair of the group, Greater Waupaca Area Parks and Trails. And just a little bit about our group. We were started in 2018, and as Justin said, we're a nonprofit. Excuse me, I find my note. So we're a nonprofit under Waupaca County Natural Resources Foundation. They are our physical sponsor. And our mission is, as Greater Waupaca Area Parks and Trails exists to identify on and off-road biking and walking routes, river routes, and parks, both linear and neighborhood, through the townships of Dayton, Farmington, Lynn, Waupaca, and the city of Waupaca, and beyond where beneficial. Where appropriate, GWAT PT will apply for grants, funding, and social matching funds. We work with citizens and government bodies to bring goals to fruition. As Justin was saying, we have two separate trails that we're looking at right now. So the one that you were talking about, Massica, is that's Oneida for water crossings. So that route crosses water about 10 times. And then the second trail, the one that goes to Waupaca, we're going to call that Waupaca Trail. We have a member who has come to Waupaca with only her bike. And would you like to speak, Jenna?
Hello. If you can hear me, I'm Jenna Lubon, and I'm here for the summer, and I've been interning at the Waupaca Foundry. I met these amazing group of individuals at a farmer's market, and kind of got things rolling, and it's really neat. I biked all around here. My folks just dropped me off of a bike, and I just found a bunch of little networks and pathways to go through. I've been as far out as like Plover and far, I think, east as Manawa, and down to like Scandinavia, Iola, and down even to a chain of lakes. So I've been exploring all around of these really cool bike paths that Wisconsin has to offer. And I've heard they're really known for like their parks and very green spaces just within the state. So what I've been, once I met them at the farmers market, I've been kind of helping them with the Waupaca trail to connect it to Waupaca in the one of the I forget, but in this little section right here. So one, keep going down. Yep, there's that one. So I've been helping them with a section on that, although it's not my academic background. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have a friend who's a civil engineer who just graduated to help with this bike trail. So I've been communicating with the nonprofit organization and been seeing about like the permits and getting things all settled to help with this section of the trail. And by working with my friend who is a civil engineering graduate, we've been kind of scouting out the trail, taking pictures, seeing the different types of routes. It's just so far we've just been waiting on some surveyor data to help with the elevation gains to see which is the right pathway to take based on what's there. So that's what I kind of have been working on, and it's been really, really neat. Gain a bunch of experience and just to seeing making Waupaca very accessible by bike. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I brought a sign with so you can see it. It's based off of similar signs, like Waupaca County and Stevens Point area. So the surrounding counties have signs that are similar to this color and style. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
All right. No questions. Thank you. We have to approve this agreement, correct?
Looking to go in agreement with the Greater Waupaca Area Parks and Trails Group so they can get started on trails in the city.
Good, good. Somebody would like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Was that Dimitri?
Yes.
Okay. And who's second? Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Martin, second by Veliker to approve the agreement. Construction and maintenance agreement and sign installation on Waupaca and Waupaca Trail. Any discussion?
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody wanted to join your happy band, who should they get a hold of, or should they go to the farmer's market and join you there? Or?
Yeah,
just
farmers
to
market.
plug yourselves right now.
We have, absolutely. Yeah, we have a booth at the farmers market yet, and we have a Facebook page, Greater Waupaca Area Parks and Trails, and we have a website, gwapt.org. So, any of those three things? Oh, I believe you have a brochure, and the website and Facebook page are on those.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any more discussion? No? Oh.
I just say thank you both for coming and presenting. I know it's not easy up there.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call vote, please, Barb.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Okay. Thank you all.
Yep, good luck.
Okay, next up, we have the City of Waupaca Economic Diversity and Resiliency Plan. Jared Rakew.
Thank you. This one starts on page 81 of your packets. There is a one-page front and back kind of summary asked our consultant Mike Stump with Place Dynamics to put this together, just in case you really didn't want to read the 94-page document before the meeting. I would encourage you to read it. It has a lot of great data. Mike is going to be able to go over some of this here in a presentation he has prepared. But with that, I'm just going to kick it over to the consultant that we worked with on this project, Mike Stump with Place Dynamics. He did a lot of the background research, assisted with a lot of the steering committee meetings, as well as a lot of focus group meetings and individual one-on-one meetings. So he's done a lot of work with this, so I'm just going to turn it over to him as to not steal his thunder. And then just with the note that after going through this, we would be looking for approval of adoption of this strategy or of this document to use as a guide for future economic development and strategic planning purposes. So, Mike?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep it kind of brief this evening, just hit some of the highlights in some of our research findings. But I do want to comment at the beginning here that a lot of the recommendations when it comes to strategy are things that we would envision not simply the city doing, but working with partners. And we just had a great example of that because one of the recommendations related to tourism was expanding trail systems throughout the area. And we did look at the city as well as the 4 adjoining towns and tried to look at a broad swath of the economy. So not just focused on industry, but looking at workforce, industry, small business, and entrepreneurial development, commerce generally, the downtown as a significant component of that, which also ties very much into tourism. There are 2 different kinds of tourism maybe in this area, one associated with the lakes and the other associated with the downtown. I'm going to go ahead and... Or how do I advance the slides?
I think I'm doing it here. Is
Okay.
this the second one? I don't know if I skipped any, Mike.
Okay.
This kind of has a leg.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, so this is just summarizing some of the workforce. What you see in the 2 maps there are the locations in which people living in the Waupaca area work, and then the other map shows where you're drawing your workforce from. And I would say over time, one of the things that we have seen is that there is more long-distance travel. Over time, you have fewer people who are both living and working locally and more commuting both into and out of the city for employment. Along with that, of course, we have a number of other issues related to workforce and the challenges that people are having not just in Waupaca, not just in Wisconsin, but nationwide. There are very few places that are not struggling right now to find the workers that they need. Okay. Is this the second slide? Okay. So what we did here, based on where the workforce is being drawn from, we said, let's draw a 50-mile ring. And that really describes the economy that we have. And started to look at the composition of that industry base across all the different sectors, and employment at the types of businesses that you have and the change that's occurred over time. And what you're looking at is, I think, kind of significant here. You had growth up into, about 2000, well, the early 2000s or so. Since then, things have kind of plateaued. There's been this very little change overall across time in establishments and even employment too, even though that graph looks a little bit different. It's not a significant change that we have seen. Go ahead and...
There you go.
So We do break out what is a local firm, meaning something that is based here in the area versus something that is outside of the area. And we want to do this to understand branch plants typically, or branch operations, I should say. So it could be a retail store, it could be a manufacturer. What we want to understand is what's the composition in terms of local versus outside ownership and how that influences your economic stability over time. There's a thinking that often companies that are not necessarily based in the area don't have as strong ties and are more susceptible to decisions that would be averse to the city. And when you look at where we are here again, you do see that breakout in branch establishments having gone through a decline and then an increase and kind of tapering off a little bit here. Breaking out manufacturing as a component of that, that's been more stable. And then the maps show you the locations of where you're drawing that investment from. Where is the headquarters operation of that? So, of course, southeastern Wisconsin, draw a triangle from Madison to Milwaukee and Chicago, and that's where a lot of the investment in this area is being drawn from. And here we're looking at startups, your history of where startups have been in the area over time, and the pace of startups, which is very erratic. That's often very heavily influenced by the economy. So if you think of back in 2009, 10, 11, when the job market was really poor and people were not able to go out and find alternative jobs, a lot of people instead decide that they were going to try and start their own business. And what you saw is that most of them dropped it as soon as the economy improved. They went back to working in the workforce. But that accounts for some of the spikes there. And then if you look at the trend over time, you can see startups are becoming more and more important as a component of economic growth in the area. Again, we did break that out into manufacturing versus the economy generally. And I would comment that the Waupaca area, from the Fox cities out to Stevens Point and Wausau, that whole area does have a higher percentage of manufacturing startups than elsewhere. And that is one of the things that we did highlight as a bit of a need. Particularly, there is a concern that the startups, a lot of times, are something a person will do in their home workshop, take over a part of the garage. Think about somebody who may be a woodworker and has decided to create their own business as a hobby, becomes a full-time job. They get to a point where they need to move out into that first commercial space. They don't need a very large space. And this market is doing a particularly awful job of providing those spaces. Somewhere where somebody can come in and rent a piece of a industrial building that's the size of this room, maybe even half the size of this room, and set up operation. So that is something we did target in the analysis and some of the recommendations. And we looked pretty extensively at the commercial sector, finding some differences actually between where people in the town versus people in the city shop. That was a little bit of a surprise, and I'm not sure if we came up with a very good explanation for why people in the city, their favorite place to go grocery shopping is Pick and Save. But if you live in the town, where, depending on where you are, you could be just as close to that Pick and Save, but your favorite place to go shopping for groceries is Woodman's. Change over time. I think everybody's aware that there have been some changes in the composition of what you have in the commercial sector here, and I'm speaking mainly towards meeting the basic needs of the community as opposed to businesses that are more tourist-oriented. But people are shopping throughout the whole area, and when it comes to shopping for bigger items for some of the things that are not available here. It's about roughly evenly split if you combine the towns and the city, about evenly split between people who are heading east or west to larger communities to do some shopping. This is a map that shows over the course of a year where your tourists originate, and in this case we use the definition of tourist, pretty much an industry standard of somebody who lives at least 50 miles away from the city. That's usually considered the distance at which you could call it more of a day trip type of travel, as opposed to you're not doing your basic shopping coming into Waupaca from that distance. And again, you do see that the bulk of the people who are coming into Waupaca are southeastern Wisconsin, Madison, Milwaukee. Drops off as you move into the Chicago area. If you looked at this at a more granular level, a map that's partially covered up there, you do see that while there is still a draw from places like the Twin Cities and Chicago and elsewhere, really it is that Milwaukee and suburban area that is your core market for tourists. And this is over time. COVID really messed with the tourism market. We saw a bump in tourism in places that offer outdoor recreation opportunities. And I think you captured that somewhat in the lakes here. But the long-term trend is a little bit more complex, and maybe we don't yet have as much data as we would like, as many years of data. There seems to be a fall off in the number of unique visitors. So what you're seeing is, even while the number of visits that you had over a course of a year increased in both the city and in the towns, the number of unique visitors is generally dropping off. So you're seeing more visits by the same people as opposed to bringing in new tourists. And that is something that I think we want to focus on and try and ensure that we're reaching a new audience every year to expand tourism potential. It is very much a seasonal market, and you can see that in the graph there. The beginning of the year is pretty slow, picks up quite a bit in summer as the lake temperatures warm up, and then it's a little bit slower to drop off in fall. There are still people who come out in fall and they'll enjoy time on the lake, or maybe visiting the state park, other activities in the fall season, where there are also more events in the downtown and some more excuses to come here. So as we met with a number of people at different points through the research phase of this project and started gathering input and brought it back to the steering committee, we landed on two goals. There is an immediate goal, and that is to try to mitigate some of the workforce shortages that we've got. And then the longer-term goal is economic diversification, trying to expand and diversify the area's industry base so that the city and the region and the workers and others are not so heavily dependent on just a very small number of large establishments. And under each of those goals, we end up with 6 objectives. And if you want to go to the next slide. So objective 1 is increasing workforce participation, and have a number of different strategies under there. But really it is trying to address some of the things that are keeping people out of the workforce, as well as working with the business community to educate them and partner with them to adopt, say, new technology or different approaches to recruitment, things that would help them to be able to overcome some of the challenges they face by not having the workforce they need. Objective 2 is to attract and retain working age residents, and a number of things related there to, for one thing, housing. And as much as it's true that workforce is a nationwide problem, housing is also a nationwide problem. And so you're not unique in having to deal with those issues, but they are very significant, and we do have a lot of recommendations. This is one that crossed over into both of our short-term and long-term goals. And other ways to try and reach out and encourage people to move to Waupaca or the Waupaca area. And then the third one, you do have a lot of contract workers, those temporary workers who are coming into the area who could become more involved in the community and ultimately, we hope, consider taking full-time employment in the city. And then school employer programs. One of the concerns we had that was expressed to us was maybe the schools and the students are not made aware of the kinds of jobs that are available in the community, the education that's required for them, and the opportunities that they present. There are a lot of very good paying jobs that don't necessarily follow the usual track through college. Partnering to upskill workers. So if you've got a good worker who is maybe doing one job, can you train them to do something that's more advanced? Can you invest in that person? And so that one, especially along with some of the others here, are collaborating with the Workforce Development Board and trying to put together the resources to help those businesses train people to move up to more advanced positions. And then adopting technology. So if you can take an unskilled job, low-skilled, low-paying job, and maybe replace that with robotics of some sort, and you're eliminating the need for low-skill workers, creating more higher-wage jobs that people can fill. The economic diversification goal, first of all, is supporting entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship has been the key way for this area to grow, increase the number of establishments, and so we do have a number of initiatives related to that. One of the most important ones I'll touch at the end is the discussion of a business incubator. Promoting the work-from-home economy. We saw that with COVID. A lot of people were able to move out to areas where maybe they had a second home or wanted a second home. Maybe they just took a short-term rental, an Airbnb or Vrbo for a month, and enjoyed the opportunity to work from a remote location. That is something that, by all measures, is still continuing, and not in a full-time remote work, but we're seeing a lot of employers now who are adopting a 3-day in the office or 2-day in the office type of approach, which makes a longer commute more feasible for people if somebody did want to be out here where they could enjoy a better quality of life, what they perceive to be a better quality of life. They could do that. And then we have again, that issue of housing, trying to address that, getting new housing built across the board, whether that is, the market's missing many things. Apartments, high-end apartments are always something that's in short supply. That person who is coming to town, often who is accepted a job and is going to buy a house, but their job starts before they'll buy, and they're looking for a good quality place to rent in the interim, as well as retirees. Other people who want to maintain a foothold here but don't want a house often are looking for an apartment, but they don't want, or rather I should say, they do want amenities like an attached garage and better quality finishes. We also talk about the potential here of a extended stay hotel to help meet that need for the temporary workers. expanding tourism opportunities, many different things that can be done. Certainly continuing the chain to main promotional programs, tying into the Ice Age Trail, and I did comment about the trails here, that we feel that recreation is one of the things that people are coming to this area to enjoy. It's a leading driver of tourism, and let's expand on the assets, whether that would be trail systems, whether that would be water trails, access to the water, events that draw tourists, and agritourism. You do have in the rural areas around here, as well as even in the city, a lot of agritourism businesses already. And that should be highlighted as a bigger part of the area's tourism than it is currently. Building on downtown success, so continuing participation in the Main Street program, formalizing the informal downtown organization that's already in place, putting a little bit more structure behind it so it can be more effective, and continuing the renovation, the redevelopment that's been going on in the downtown and in the areas immediately adjacent. There are some wonderful opportunities for redevelopment, I would think, that could tie into both the tourism promotion, creating more commercial space for niche businesses, as well as housing. Recruiting and expanding primary industries, the last one of the objectives under economic diversification. In general, business recruitment is often popular in economic development, and increasingly it is a difficult thing to do. Businesses, for the most part, if you look at what the trend has been coming out of 2010 or so, especially as the labor force issues have gotten worse, businesses want to be in suburban areas where they have access to labor. And so we've seen a real drop-off in the number of site selection projects that have ended in communities like Waupaca, even larger small cities or more rural areas. It's the flow, and central cities have lost out as well. The flow has really concentrated in those suburban areas now. That doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to work with partners. So Waukesha County Economic Development and the state of Wisconsin are doing promotion to try and attract business to Wisconsin, to the county, to the city, and the city can partner with them, but it doesn't need to be something that the city is leading a significant effort in that. The last thing we come to is this study included an examination of business incubation, co-working, and other types of assistance to startups and small businesses. And about the same time, and this has heavily influenced some of the results, Stevens Point has been going through this. And Stevens Point is looking at a business incubator where it is partnered with a lot of the economic development organizations, whether on the finance side or the business assistance side, so the Small Business Development Center and CAP Services and others, who would actually be tenants of that incubator. And it becomes a little bit of a 500-pound gorilla. It would be difficult for Waupaca to compete with that, given its smaller population base and the bigger draw that would have, as well as the fact that when we look at the financial side of things, it would require a subsidy, an annual subsidy for Waupaca to do a traditional incubator. What we came up with as a recommendation are three things that you can consider. The first is a speculative industrial building that would have small tenant spaces for manufacturing businesses. We feel that there's a lot of demand for this. People who do want that 1,000, 1,200 square foot space where they can move their business out of their garage because it has been growing. Secondly is a business service center. This is oriented more towards your office workers, whether that would be an independent business person, small business, or even somebody who may be working remotely, a location where they can set up their computer outside the house, meeting rooms where they could have meetings with clients or get on a Zoom call in a professional environment, other professional, what they call the professional business facade, so having a business mailbox and other support services available to them. There are different locations where that potentially could be developed. Perhaps that is something that's done jointly with the Chamber of Commerce. The library is another very good option. A lot of places are using their library in that way. And then the third thing is we could call it a web video production studio or sometimes a digital media studio. And these have been are becoming very popular now. Think of all the people who are making YouTube videos or videos for TikTok. Yeah, a lot of these are business promotional or how-to that's meant to sell a person's skills so they can market. The ability to go into a professional space that has the equipment, that has the editing software, even for graphic design and game development and other activities. It's a relatively minor investment in terms of cost because you simply need a space in which to locate it, and then there is the cost of equipment. But overall, a studio like this can, depending on the space that you have available, you might be looking at an investment of $20,000 to $50,000 to create something like this, which, as I said, we've seen these have a lot of popularity in the communities that have developed them. That is a quick summary of the strategy, and I would love to answer any questions you've got.
Henry, go ahead.
Well, thanks. It's a very extensive report, and I'm really glad that you included the townships in it because we rise and fall together. I've got probably a couple questions. Just background, did the towns contribute to funding this study, or was this done with the chamber and city only?
I can answer that. So this was actually done, we received an Economic Development Administration grant that paid for all of it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Will you be taking this to the townships to present so they get to see it as well? Because it seems to me that they could be a really great partner in executing this, particularly the work from home stuff and, and incentivizing that. So hopefully they'll get to see it as well, the townships.
We can work on that and figure out how we can do that.
Yeah. It's not hard to get cooperation when you don't have to pay anything. I guess for the staff that was closest to this and our consultant, was there anything that really stood out? Because there's a lot of statistics, and your gut feeling is on these things, and there's trends, and we're not a super anomaly by any means. But was there any one or two things that was just like, wow, I would have never thought? And I would leave it to the staff or
So
you.
in the data, I would say I did mention you have a higher number or higher percentage of your startups are in manufacturing than we typically see. And also that need. And so we did the study for Stevens Point as well. So we surveyed the commercial market here much more broadly than would be typical because we went out as far as Marshfield and beyond. And there's just this incredible shortage of those spaces. Another thing that was very interesting was with the tourism, that you do see what has happened. If you'd talked to Rhinelander 10, 15 years ago, the people up there would tell you that things have changed from the days when it used to be a lot of vacation cottages and you'd have a lot of turnover in your visitors to now these are second homes where you're just getting one family going up there occasionally, or people who are living on the lake now, and so that's affected the tourism traffic. I think that's happened here. In terms of origins, one of the things I found very interesting, because we did the downtown plan for Marshfield a number of years ago and heard over and over about the spouses of the doctors and other staffers at the hospital who would take a day trip to go into Fox Valley Mall. Maybe they're headed to Fox Valley Mall, but they're making a stop here. So that was a little bit of an interesting finding as well. I think maybe they're going in and they're enjoying lunch here before they go in, or maybe they're not even going to Fox Valley anymore.
And I guess finally, my guess is the staff, and we'll be probably talking about maybe some of these recommendations in our capital planning.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things that have clicked with me that I would love to talk internally about and potentially bring back here soon. Also, strategic planning, as we bring that update back, incorporating some of this into that as well. I think, Henry, you asked the question of staff too. One thing that jumped out to me was that it's going to be hard. You know, the data doesn't exactly show that anything from an economic development standpoint is going to be easy. And I think we're always optimists as staff. We think we live in an awesome place, and we think that we're well positioned to do a lot of things. And I think that, you know, on a lot of levels that's true. But when it comes to some of this stuff, there's just some overarching trends that'll take work. That's what jumped out to me.
Are we asking, is the ask here tonight to adopt some ideas, or is it to adopt, the taxpayers are going to help fund some of this? And then I guess I'm kind of off on what we're voting for here. The idea of it or funding it? Or the idea of funding it?
Just to adopt the plan, no financial commitments at all, just that these are strategies that are recognized, and any specific strategy that would involve funding in the future would absolutely be separate actions.
Yeah.
I'd say this is one of those similar to like we have our downtown plan in which, you know, we utilize to reconstruct Main Street. We utilize that plan to not only for the ideas and to keep the conversation going, the data behind it, but also to apply for any possible grants. So especially, you know, if we're applying for a grant and we have a document that shows, you know, this is something that we have identified that should be a priority, and here's the data to back it. It gets us a lot further in the grant process. And makes us a lot more competitive. So, yeah, I would echo Aaron. We're just adopting the document, which would serve as a guide to guide staff forward, you know, to research these ideas more.
One of the ideas, the consultant who was involved with our the look at childcare we had through the grant said, first, make sure while you're trying to support childcare in the area, first do no harm. And some of the things that are listed here, like the last bullet point was, let's get a web or a video guy here, or promote that business. Well, we already have a local guy that's doing that. So, like, there's quite a few of them. That's just one of them. The promote the chain, public access to the chain. I'm not sure if you're asking to acquire land there or promote more businesses. There's 3 businesses renting boats to the public there already. I don't know how much more you can do. It's quite busy. So, you know, and are you going to hurt the businesses that are already established by doing some of these? So I'd like everybody to keep that in mind as you're listing these bullet points off. There's businesses that are established that are already doing this to some extent, and just be careful.
Comments?
Anybody else? Okay, we're just approving the plan right now, so I'd be looking for a motion and a second for that approval.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Olson, to approve the Waupaca Economic Diversity and Resiliency Plan. Any more discussion? Barb, would you take the roll call vote?
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, item C is application for temporary Class B retailer's license, Waupaca Area Triathlon, 921 South Main Street, which is South Park, for August 19th, 2023. Aaron.
Thank you, Paul. So this is coming back from our last meeting. We had some questions regarding if we were meeting all DOR rules. After going back and forth, Barb, thank you for communicating with the DOR and our reps. Basically, it was determined that if the triathlon purchases the beer from H.H. Hinder and sells it at the park under the Class B temporary license, as long as triathlon volunteers and not H.H. Hinder employees are selling it, then it follows all of the regulations, which is exactly what the triathlon has agreed to do. And I guess hopefully that answers the questions moving forward. The triathlon is this Saturday. Just as a reminder, I believe we had the, this is just kind of the area, the orange box on the site map on where it's positioned to be sold, and the boundaries of the park is kind of the boundaries of where people can go with it. Henry, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just appreciate the staff following up and helping square it away, so.
Good.
I move to approve the permit to allow the triathlon to serve alcoholic beverages.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by
Dykstra.
Second by Hagan, to approve the application for temporary Class B and Class B retailer's license for Waupaca Area Triathlon, 921 South Main, South Park, for August 19th, 2023. Any more discussion? Barb, please take a roll call vote.
Okay. Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
I'm going to abstain since I'm on the application. It's probably appropriate to abstain.
and Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Thanks, Barb. Item D is a proposed airport T-hanger lease. Alderman Paul Hagan, this is you.
Certainly. On page 181 of your packet is the draft airport hangar lease. At our last airport board meeting, we got together and we brought up several positive suggestions and revisions to the current lease. And it was approved by the airport board. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Matt, who has a few more specifics.
Yes, thank you, Paul. As Paul stated, we drafted a new hangar lease.
Hey,
We
Matt,
based it-
can you just pull that mic a little closer? Perfect, thank you.
We drafted a new T-hanger lease to bring our policies more in line with other airports across the state, and we used the Bureau of Aeronautics T-hanger lease template to draft it. It doesn't change too much from our existing lease, except for a few key points. Mainly, if I can highlight number 7, we specify that an airworthy aircraft has to be in the hangar. That falls with the FAA's guidelines. It makes it so people can't just leave junk in there for extended periods of time. And it also allows, further down, it allows maintenance to take place inside of a T-hangar. Each year, an aircraft has to have an inspection, and that has to be by a licensed mechanic. Our current lease doesn't allow any type of commercial activity to take place in a T-hangar. So that simple act gets somebody evicted under the current lease. Item number 12, this is a pretty significant change from our current lease. This change would allow tenants to temporarily store transient aircraft during times such as EA AirVenture. When pilots choose to stay at a place, sometimes it depends on hangar availability. They don't want their aircraft sitting out overnight. And this would allow tenants to rent their space with approval for up to 14 days. And that could be for whatever rate that they choose. That includes making a profit for up to 14 days. For up to 6 months, especially for people that may travel outside of the area with their aircraft, and this leaves their hangar vacant. Obviously, an active airplane in our hangar is better for the airport than just sitting vacant. This would allow them to rent their hangar for up to 6 months with board approval at and I should add that there is a omission on number 12. At the end, it should say, at an amount not to exceed lessee's monthly rate. So they could rent it up to 6 months without getting a profit, just for the same rate that they pay the city. And this keeps active airplanes at the airport and contributing in other ways, such as fuel sales and activity. Number 13, that's highlights again that allows services to be performed on the lessee's aircraft for inspections, maintenance, and repairs. And finally, number 20 just goes a little bit more in depth about the actions it can take if the lease is violated. Our current lease says that a breach of the lease gets a 3-day notice and they have to remove their aircraft. I think that's a little extreme, but it's also kind of difficult to enforce due to the vague nature of our current lease. This would give 3 months, basically, is what they would have if they're in violation for 90 days. Then the eviction process could take place. Any questions about anything I didn't touch on?
Question number, or point number 5, you also have in blue and gold, that could be changed, it says there. Did you come up to a final decision on that one?
For rent adjustment?
I think it's rent one, I can't find it here now.
Yeah, that's correct, Matt.
Rent may be increased with 30-day written notice following the first year of the lease by the lessor. Yeah, so obviously that's a board decision to increase the rent.
They're going to change it to 30 days.
Yes.
Instead of 6 months?
Yes.
The blue is what it's going to be, okay. Well, just make sure it's set one way or the other. Same with point 20, but you just said that was going to go down to 2 months or 12 days or whatever it said here now. 12 months is down to 3 months or something.
Yeah, from 3 days to 3 months for the compliance for the lease. But yeah, it would be 30-day written notice for after the first year.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Aaron.
Let's see here. So I think that clarified number 5, Matt. Just to then clarify number 20, period of 12 for continuous.
Well, you got the.
So if a leasee fails, so I think you said 3 months?
Yes, that was determined, and I apologize for the version you got. Yes.
If you go down to page 190, the clean version is there.
Oh, thank you.
For a point 20.
Yeah.
90. Okay, perfect. So the 3 months rather than the 12.
Yes.
As written prior. And that's in this clean version. I'm sorry for not scrolling down far enough. Okay.
Any more questions?
Here we go.
Colin?
This was approved by the airport board? Was it unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion in a second.
I would like to make a motion to approve, please.
I'll second it.
Moved by Hagan, second by Dykstra, to approve the proposed airport T hangar lease. Any more discussion? Barb, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Dimitri Martin?
Aye.
Henry Velliker?
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, thanks, Barb. Item E is Halloween on Main temporary expanded premises and open intoxicant request for Friday, October 27th, 2023. And this is Laura.
Thank you. So yeah, page 193, it starts and it goes to page 206. What we're looking at is we have 6 businesses on Main Street who would like to provide open intoxicants, and you can see each of those businesses listed on 193 with the subsequent pages starting on page 195 to 206 with each individual business request. Let's go to page 194 though, because that shows the map. So you can see the street closures that we're going to go through next on the agenda are in orange, and then outlined in purple is where we're asking for the open intoxicants. So all the way from Badger to Granite Street on Main, and then up Water Street, but right before you get to Elm Street. And then a little bit of those offshoot roads going east and west to cover the businesses that will be distributing alcohol, such as the National Lounge. So we are looking for a motion to allow open intoxicants from 4 to 8 p.m. on October 27th, which is the night of our Halloween on Main event.
Okay, any questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to expand the premise description to accommodate outdoor sales for the 6 businesses listed. Is that about right?
Good enough. Yeah.
Second.
Moved by Veliker, second by Perchatsky to approve the Halloween on Main temporary expanded premises and open intoxicant request for Friday, October 27th, 2023. Did you say 4 to 9, Laura?
4 to 8 is what it's requested
4 to
for.
8.
Mhm.
4 to 8. Any more discussion? Colin?
Is that a different hours than last year?
So the Halloween on Main event goes from 4 to, 5. Oh boy. Now I need to go 5 to 7. I'll have to check my notes real quick. The hours for open intoxicants are a little bit more on either end.
Right.
So it's a 2-hour-long event,
Uh-huh.
but there's other things happening kind of before and after, and they want to include that time.
Okay, I thought it was longer last year, and I wondered if there were, okay. And then, was there any issues last year, Chief Hozell, related to the,
No, there was not. Everybody was very well behaved.
okay, thank you.
We were.
I think they did have a haunted trail or something up behind Danes last year. I don't know what the time frame was for it.
So that went until 8 p.m. last
was 8
year,
o'clock,
and
yeah,
that
okay.
was in collaboration with the school district, and they are going to take a year off this year.
All right. Any more questions?
I don't recall if this was answered last year, but there's going to be signage for the boundaries of where the open intoxicants are allowed.
Yeah, so we'll have street closure signs up, and we'll have the signs on those street closures to say no more intoxicants past this.
So I'll be able to walk right by Chief Ozell with an open can of beer in my hands on Main Street at that time.
You will, because I will be there.
Great. Okay, anybody else? Okay, somebody want to make a motion for approval?
Ruff will keep an eye on them.
Oh, they did? Okay.
I think it's there already, right?
We're already having a mo.
We already got a motion, yeah.
We do.
Okay, I'm sorry. Barb, roll call vote.
Paul Hagan.
I'm not used to being first here.
Because Lori's gone.
I said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Henry Veliker.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, Barb. Laura, you're up again. Halloween on Main Street closures for Friday, October 27th, 2023.
Yes, thank you. And since our event was so popular last year, we did have an estimated crowd of 2,000 to 4,000 people. We would like to maintain the same amount of street closures as last year. We did not adapt the map at all, but one difference you will see if you were there last year to this year is we are going to extend our touch-a-trucks down Water Street. So that entire section will have all those touch-a-trucks because it got really congested on the north side of Main Street last year. So other than that, you can see in orange on page 208 the street closures that we're looking for, and then the green lines indicate the route people can take to get around the closures. So on Main Street, we're going to go north up to essentially Water Street and south to Badger Street, and then Water Street will be closed all the way to North Washington and all the way to Elm Street, and then some of those side streets as well.
Any questions? Motion?
I move to approve the road closure for the Halloween.
Moved by Dykstra, second by Peterson to approve Halloween on Main Street closures for Friday, October 27th, 2023. Any more discussion? Barb, please take a roll call vote.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Item G is license report number 1638, operators licenses, which are bartenders licenses. Any issues, Barb, Chief? Okay, be looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Veliker to approve license report number 1638. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no issue project discussion tonight, and we have communications and recommendations of the mayor. And I see a list here. Mayor, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think Barb wanted to make sure that I didn't forget some of these items, so they put them on here. Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, if you didn't have the opportunity to attend, we had a great splash pad ribbon cutting out there. It was a very nice event. It was great for the donors, but I'll tell you, the city of Waupaca deserves a lot of kudos for the ability to do a splash pad and also to do the playground equipment that's out there too. And I especially want to thank Laura Colbert, of course, because she spearheaded that event, and it was a wonderful event that we had out there. Got a lot of good recognition out of there. We had a couple of council members there, and always looking for more to attend those kinds of things, but they do get recognized, and you do deserve a lot of credit for these things happening, and you might as well take advantage of good things that people will say about what we're doing in our community. Also wanted to touch base with you on, I attended a fundraiser last week. It was for the chain skiers, and of course it's held out on the chain of lakes, but as Laura talked about before, one of the new programs that we had in the rec department this year was to learn how to ski, water ski. And so we were recognized at this fundraising event, and we got a really, really resounding applause for trying to improve the number of participants that are in the chain skiers, and also just to get young people to learn how to ski. And as I told Aaron and Laura, I took full credit for it all, but Laura really deserves a lot of credit for that, or most of the credit for that. Couple of events that are happening. August 29th mark this on your calendar as, kind of a ribbon cutting type thing. August 29th is the Rotary Clock ceremony, and that's going to start at 5:30 p.m. Of course, that's right on City Square. So staff hopefully can attend, and like to see most of the city council members that can attend, that they can be there too. Of course, tonight you have the movie in the park. I'm sure you guys have your running shoes on already so that you can get there in 29 minutes. So I won't keep you much longer. Did want to just give you a brief update on Lori's condition. Lori Chestnut, actually this is a text that Aaron received, and last Thursday he was updated by Stacy, who's Lori's daughter-in-law, and she is in a rehab facility down in Milwaukee. Looks like it's about 2 to 3 weeks in there, and then hopefully she'll be back with us. So we haven't heard much from her, but it looks like she's moving in the right direction. So make sure you think of Lori anytime you're thinking of our council and missing one person. Aaron, I don't know. Is there anything else that I might have missed?
No, I don't think so. Spot on.
All right. Well, thanks. Paul, I'll turn it back to you then.
Thanks, Mayor. Colin.
If I could add to the mayor's comments about the chain skiers, this weekend was their last show. And in the pre-show, a number of, I think 2 or 3, I was out in the boat, so I didn't see them finish, but a number of the kids who were involved in the rec program got to ski. And not only did the mayor get cheers at the fundraiser, all these kids got a bunch of cheers from the people on shore while they were doing their laps and coming in. It was a really great ending show for everybody.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Okay. Needed a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Olson, that we adjourn until the next regular council meeting on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, subject to call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're adjourned at 7:33. Thank you all.